by in 3, 2, 1. For now.
Hello there and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us here again for yet another AY Love live stream, and we are coming to you live from Harry Hyde Serviced Apartments here in Arboretum. Today being the 25th of March 2022, it is very important for us to wrap up the Women's Month with a very, very insightful and a very important conversation. And today we are going to be tackling the conversation of women in leadership. Of course, as you can see, I have a very capable and a very beautiful panel with me here today. But before we can get to meet them, remember that you can engage with us on our social media platforms. That's on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Send in your questions, whatever contributions you may have to today's conversation, and of course we'll do our very best to get back to you. My good name is Sharon Chabaibai, and I will be your moderator for today. So to begin, from my very far left, I have Edith Mwirigi, who is a Women's Rep aspirant, Meru County, followed by Decima Ogutu, who is a HR leader and professional certified coach. And finally, to my close left, I have Lillian Muli, who is the founder of Hidden Tears Kenya. Karibuni sana. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And yes, so today we are talking about women in leadership. And as we think about Women's Month, March, let's just go, for example, to what we have been talking about in terms of International Women's Day. And the main conversation that has been going around on social media and everywhere has been on breaking the bias. That has been the theme for this year's International Women's Day. And when you talk about breaking the bias, we're basically talking about a world free of bias, stereotypes, discrimination, a world that is diverse, a world that is equitable and inclusive, and of course where our differences are valued and celebrated, because there's beauty in diversity, and having our differences celebrated is actually a very important thing. So to begin us off, I'd like us to talk about what breaking the bias means for all of us, for each of us. Now that, yes, we've been talking about breaking the bias, what does breaking the bias mean for you as an individual? And how are we helping to champion this message of making sure that we have an inclusive and a world where our differences are celebrated? So Decima, maybe I can begin with you. Can tell us what breaking the bias means to you?
Breaking the bias means a lot of things to me as an individual. But I think there's a lot of discussions around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when we talk about breaking the biases, all we are asking for is for the diversity to be respected. And when we talk of diversity, we are looking at gender, we are looking at race, we are looking at ethnicity. Those are things that are easy to identify and say that I'll have a pool of women and this is the age group that I'm looking for. So diversity is easy. Inclusion part is where I believe that there's a lot of opportunity for us in terms of how we are going to break the biases. And when I talk of inclusivity is accepting and acknowledging that we are not the same. We are all different. And that stems from my life's experience. It could also stem from my education background. It could also stem from my personal beliefs and the biases that I bring to the table. And I believe that that is where there's a bit of complexity. So when you talk about breaking the bias, for me, I lean on inclusion. So what does inclusion look like to the wider community?
Okay. Edith, maybe you can tell us your contribution.
Okay, thank you very much. For me, I think breaking the bias is going beyond the societal dogma, the usual things that people expect that needs to be done. For example, when it comes to girl empowerment, which I think the society is really doing well in, and people are complaining that we're forgetting the boy child. It's going beyond the things that the society expects in a woman, especially the negative things. In the past, in the era of our parents, a woman was expected not to do much, just to focus on marriage and taking care of their kids. But now with time, a woman is doing well in both fields. They're taking care of their families well and still excelling in their careers. So that, according to me, that's what breaking the bias means. Yes.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go
So
ahead.
for me, breaking the bias, I would say, in addition to what they have said, it's rewriting the script for yourself. Understanding that you don't have to be defined by gender or any other thing that the society imagines that you should be, but knowing that you as a person, you have the right to actually create your own identity and go for what you really want as a person. Focus on what you believe in and see how that can be part and parcel of your life in every activity that you do in your life, without necessarily depending on what other people would rather expect from you. So that for me is break the bias, go beyond the obvious, and do that is extra that you believe you can, because you can.
And I think even like before we go on, there's a quote that I came across by Decima, and I was doing my homework. So I'll just read it out so that now it can inform how we go forward in terms of breaking the bias. So my invitation for people of all identities and women is to reflect upon our roots and continue the journey from where those who came before us stumbled, so that we can clear the way for the next 7 generations in line. The bias cast mostly upon the female gender is a reflection of the incomplete healing in our very own family systems that has continuously seen women being relegated to being seen as not good enough in most opportunities, power, and leadership. Maybe you can speak more into that. I found that very inspiring and powerful.
Yes, the truth is, you talked about our parents and our moms specifically and what role they played in the society. If I look back, okay, fine, I'm lucky that my mom worked, so she was in corporate. But prior to that, our grandmothers were basically taking care of the shamba, taking care of the children, and even educating a girl child back then was not a priority.
Yeah.
Things have changed. Fast forward. My generation, of course, I don't fall within the bracket of the youth, now that the youth is defined as 35 and below, things have changed. I've worked my entire adult life. I've been blessed to be in organizations that value women and women in leadership. This is not normal. It's not normal in the sense that there are still organizations where this is a struggle. In discussions of when you're recruiting and someone is saying, oh, she's young, newly married, oh, you need to remember that soon she will be having children. So those are stereotypes that we still encounter even today. So when we talk about preparing the ground 7 generations to come, we need to ask ourselves, is it that men are better than women or vice versa? I believe that the ground is fully leveled, and if we equip both male and female equally and create an equal opportunity, then we automatically break the bias.
Yeah.
When we talk about breaking the bias, I think as women, we are known and we've stood up to be counted, but there's some that are still left behind, in the sense that if we go to our rural homes, women, young girls are still going or experiencing some of those challenges that we witnessed or our parents witnessed years and years ago. And I guess that with the world becoming smaller, we are now able to reach quite a number of people. That is why we are having this conversation online. We need to step up, speak up, be counted, and of course continue breaking the barriers. I know there's the requirement that in each board we should have a women representative. If you're to do your homework, there are some boards that still do not have women. So when we talk about breaking the barrier, the law is there, but is it respected?
This is a question.
It's a question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And now that you've spoken into that, thank you for saying that. So now we are recognizing that even right now, even in this current generation where we are empowering the girl child and we feel like, you know, there's a lot of education and information going around, we still have and circumstances where we feel like breaking the bias has still not been achieved. We still have places where we don't have inclusivity, like you've said. excuse me, we don't have inclusivity. So just to add on what Dasima has said, maybe we can just go ahead. What are some of the solutions maybe that we can come up with to challenge these spaces where we feel like, you know what, we still have a lot of work to do? What are there any solutions that we can come up with to mitigate this?
I could go first.
Yeah.
I'll talk from my political experience.
Yeah, sure.
Women, there's a lot that needs to be done when it comes to the challenges women are going through in the political field. The society expects us to fight equally and fairly with men, but yeah. For instance, when it comes to political party membership, you find women struggling to obtain membership. Just don't even talk about the fee and everything. Economically we are empowered. We are getting empowered like men. But there are so many challenges when it comes to political leadership. I mean party membership.
Yeah.
If women could come out and speak out on the challenges that they go through in party membership, there are many challenges. Secondly, when you go to the campaign avenue, women are sidelined. The environment is not favorable for women. Let me give an example. When you go to a rally, you're supposed to stand up at there's a woman who fell down the other day. Oh. Did you see it? I think it was trending on Facebook. The environment doesn't favor women. You expected, as a woman, you need to dress up like an African woman, but still step up on the cabin and address people. So those two things are conflicting. Yeah. You need to wear trousers and still you need to look like a woman. Trousers for your safety, dress to look like a woman. So it's conflicting. And just to mention, those are the challenges that women are going through. And things are not level for women, even as we compete for spaces out here. Yes.
Thank you, Edith.
So for me, I think I will go with the solution part. So I think it all starts from how are we speaking to our children right now and the young people. Are we still using the same language that was used before, or are we using a different language? Because it would be very lovely to use a different language that will lead us to seeing leaders in future, but not women who are leaders or men who are leaders. We're just seeing leaders, you know. If the conversation heads there, then we are heading the right direction. And then the other thing would be, if in our spaces we have men who truly believe that women should be in these spaces, then they should join in the conversation
as well.
Come in and say, you know, for the sake of my daughter, for the sake of a neighbor who is a lady and she's good in leadership, I'm going to back this up.
Yeah.
Not because I'm weak as a man, because normally that's what people will think, but it's because I understand the importance of having equality and equity in our community for sustainable tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if we have that collaboration with men from that base, then it will give us a chance to be able to come to a point where we can say, now we have a good number of women in leadership. And in this case, we can believe that leaders can be leaders regardless the gender. Yeah. And then the other thing probably is just to say, before we had our communities dividing roles in the community, right? So women would stay home and do, you know, housework, be the wife, cook and all that. Men would go out and fight for the community. So obviously when you're outdoors, it automatically you'll find yourself in leadership and you'll do other important roles like be a soldier and all that. But as a woman now, things are changing, as she said, and we need to start thinking towards, is it okay for me as a lady to come into a different space because I know I can do it better? Yes, it is okay.
Yeah.
And are we flexible enough to accommodate that? Not because we want to fight with each other, but because we are realizing there are women who are actually very good in some of these things than men. Nowadays we can see there are men who are very good with kids, and that doesn't make a man less a man.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'll go.
That's very interesting, and I like what you said about challenging language, because out or identify the unique feature that we as women bring to the table. As a leader, what unique feature do you bring to the table, or do we bring to the table when it comes to leadership? And is it needed? Is it a feature that is needed, or is it totally unnecessary? Decima, what do you think?
I love that question. So the question is, what do I bring to the table? And I would say many things, and it will take an hour, 2 hours, a whole day to talk about the value that I bring to the table. One, I'm a leader not only because I'm a woman, but because I've earned the right to see. Be knowledgeable. You must have the ability and capability to articulate your points. You must be able to become a visionary leader. So when they're talking about strategy, you're not busy drinking tea. You should be able to contribute from a corporate perspective. So understanding the business strategy and being part and parcel of what the agenda that the organization is driving. Other than that, just being a female.
Yes, we do.
We bring color to the room. Other than that, also, women are known to multitask.
Yes.
Which I believe is a unique skill that we have. We are able to feel, so using your own intuition to feel and to gauge whether the mood is right and what to say. I believe those are unique features that women bring to the table. Of course, when I say multitasking, we are able to be wives, to be mothers, and to still be boss ladies within the corporate environment. So it's doable, and we can achieve whatever it is that we set out to do.
I like it. It is.
Thanks. In the political world, women survive, well, not very many women survive, but for those who survive, it's because naturally women are resilient. You know a number of women, in your circle you know a woman who's enduring, married somewhere. She's not living marriage in as much as she's supposed to live because things are not working out. So you are very resilient and enduring. Secondly, in politics, men don't pay attention to detail. Right? Look at the representation in parliament. If you're very keen to the key issues that women bring across, no one is bothered. You know, like the other day, there's someone who was talking about nursing kids. There's a woman rep for, what do you call her? She brought a motion on a nursing station in workplaces. I think she didn't bring it up because simply she's a woman, but she noticed these small things that men cannot notice easily. So women are very attentive to detail. We are good managers. The best CDF, the few women that are MPs and leaders in various platforms are the best fund managers. Of course, there are exceptions. We have women who are not up to task, but yes, but women are good managers, especially our moms. If there's 100, I remember when I was a kid, my mom would spend 100 shillings to feed us the entire day. You know, when the economy was not as bad as it is right now. But I'm thinking, I would. So some succumb to it. Women know how to slither through challenges. If women could speak of the things that they go through in the political world, you'll be shocked. So we are able to, I don't know of a good term, but we know how to slither around challenges. Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. Thank you for adding that into the conversation.
I'm so happy to be a woman. So from my space as an NGO person, I would say we are naturals. By nature we are.
Yes, we are.
But then if you take that, add some knowledge to it and experience, you get very good leaders from a woman. Because they know exactly, if they have the vision, they know exactly what you need in every step. And that's why even for planning, when it comes to planning these amazing programs and events, women will always do it best. I mean, because we are sensitive, we know what must be done now and what can be done later. But when you give that to a man, he'll just do it the way it is in his mind. He'll not think about the third party, all right? And then also, I think we have a sense of being keen with people. We can tell when you're working with a group, you can tell there's something that is missing, or someone is not very okay, or someone needs support, at a particular point. And those are very important elements and skills for a leader, because if you're working with people, you need to also understand these are human beings and they need to be heard, they need to be taken care of. And if you can do that, then trust me, you are powerful. No one can stop you. So women, we are so powerful.
So we are agreeing that we actually have some unique features that are very, very necessary. And I like what Edith said when she said that we cannot fail to agree that we have women who are not up to the task. And right now, when the world, everyone is just talking about women empowerment, girl-child empowerment, and them complaining that boy-child ameachwa kind of. But do we? I was just thinking about it, how sometimes, for example, if how we are saying that there are boards that we have to have a women representative in the board. Are there times when you just get a woman, we need a woman representative. Okay, let's just get Chebaibai. But Chebaibai, is she up to the task, or are we just putting her there because she's a woman? But when the job needs to be done, Chebaibai is not up to the task. But because she's a woman, because she's she has to be there for this whole thing to work, we have to put her there. So I guess now that leads to, how do we empower our women? I see, Lillian, you really want to.
There's something that I wanted to... You said something that's very sensitive when it comes to sitting at the table.
Yeah.
And talking of being a nurturer as a woman, you have to draw a line. You're not there to nurture people to make them be the leaders and the CEOs and the tops, and you're just there nurturing. You have to draw a line and say, this is what I'm supposed to do. And when you do it so well, own it, sit at the table, take your space.
So that you're not always the one uplifting people.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
I think what you mean is you're not the one serving tea. When people say we need tea, they turn around and look at you.
True.
Or we need so-and-so in this room, you're the first one to stand. I mean, if you've earned
The
a
right,
seat at the table, rightfully, then own it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
So-
Regardless of what your age is. Yeah.
So then now that brings me back to the conversation of, now how do we empower our girls so that they can actually rightfully sit at the table, so that we don't have our girls just being put at the table just because you are a woman and just because we actually need to have a woman in this conversation. Because like she said, for example, the women rep seat in parliament, there are people who've just taken that seat because they know it's just for women. But now when it comes to them actually representing the women in their constituents, they can't do it. So how can we really empower our girls so that they can actually be up to the task? How can we do it?
I'm happy to go. So I might not speak from a political point of view, but in my thinking, this is what I believe. We need to nurture, and we're talking about girls here, or by youth in leadership. We need to nurture our young girls to believe in themselves. So there's self-belief.
Yeah.
You've been to school just the same way, let's say Mark, John have been to school. You have the expertise, you have the competency. We need to cultivate that ownership of, if I stand up to speak, I know what I'm speaking about. In my career journey, we've interviewed quite a number of people. And at times, and this is the reality, quite a number of women will not even apply for positions because they miss one or two criteria that are listed.
Yeah.
But a guy who's missed 4 will still apply for the role and still show up for the interview. They will do their homework and they will impress you in an interview. But when you go back and ask Lillian, why didn't you apply? She'll be like, oh, I looked at the requirement and I didn't have 1 or 2. We need to cultivate self-belief that there are some skills, competencies that can be learned, number 1. Number 2, yes, we are talking about women in leadership, but even as women, we need to ask ourselves, am I actually modeling the kind of future woman in leadership that I would want to see. Many a times you're too busy. Once you get to the top, you're too busy, you're not available. Or you work in an organization and you have an opportunity to hold quite a number of these young girls, hold their hands and show them, that it can be done.
Yeah.
I think we become too busy to look at the reality and where we can make impact.
Yeah.
Number 3, don't step up if you're not ready. I'd rather you take time to build the skill and competency than step up.
Yeah.
Because a number of times also, a few people have stepped up and failed us miserably. And that is now where men will come back and say, but look at so and so.
Yeah.
I can go on. Let me leave it there.
Okay, let me take it from there. Empowering and encouraging young women and fellow age mates is one thing.
Yeah.
But do we offer a shoulder, a landing sponge for women when they fail? It's very important. I'll give you an example. Let's say in the corporate sector, a woman gets promoted to the managerial level, and she's qualified. She has all the papers. The first people to say that she slept her way up are women, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not women, maybe if men start that conversation, it's so hard to see another woman coming out to defend another woman in an office setup. In the like now, let me give my example. One of the challenges I'm going through: are you married? Why are you a single mother? You're erratic. Are you going to take care of the county if you can't take care of your family? So I need to see women fighting for me, not because I'm perfect, but women have to define themselves beyond the societal norms. I can encourage so many girls to come up, but I need to be ready to assure those girls, am I going to give you a hug if you don't manage?
Oh, yes.
If I know someone is going to hug me and encourage me if I fall, I'll take the highest risk. I'll go for the presidency because I know there's a woman waiting for me down here to tell you, babe, you tried, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, we need the personal drive. I have to be driven to come out, for example, and go for a position as a woman, as a young person. I don't need someone to come and tell me, go for this post in politics. If I feel like I'm good enough, and I know there's a sister somewhere supporting me for this, not supporting me as such, but who will hug me if I fail, it will be easier for me to take the risk. My point is we need women supporting other women.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say we are empowering each other, we are feminists, it's women world, but when you get there, you at times you feel like you're alone.
Alone, yeah.
Yes, that's the point I'm trying to drive home. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I'm listening to you and I'm just saying in my mind, we have 3 levels of women in our society at the moment. We have those who truly believe that women deserve a space and they're pushing for it. And then we have those who are still 50-50. They're like, do we still want to do this or not? And then we have those who are still stuck with the the previous generation script that a woman cannot be a leader in a company or a political leader or whatever. So I think it's a matter of also having a conversation and coming together and understanding that this is a different time and we need to do things differently. And then from there now we can have women supporting each other. But then also we can't ignore the fact that it also depends with the level of your studies. What do we call that? Your level of knowledge and understanding. Because to some people will understand why exactly it's important, some people will not. Not because they are very rigid or something, but it's because of the level of understanding, right? But then the other thing probably that I would say is when I'm talking to a young girl, one of the things that I am very keen to mention is in whatever space you ever find yourself and you have a colleague or a partner and is a male, please treat them like a partner. You don't have to be small to be nice, because the nice girls never get the corner office. That's true, right? Treat them as a partner. Just be confident enough to know that you can be in a position to make decisions sober decisions, and you can run the show. Yeah? And that, I think for me, that will really, really help us get there. And then probably just the other thing to add on it is being able to have these intimate conversations with our young people and the youth. Because on Wednesday, I was having a session with young people, teenagers, and I could see they're really struggling to navigate what we are having right now in our society. People want you to do this way, dress this way, speak this way, do. That's people. Your parents, they want you to be, right? And then there's you that I want this. But because of all this noise, I'm not able to come out and say, you know what, I think I'm very good with videography or politics, because there's a lot of noise and we're not listening. So can we help our young people to just be who they want to be, not what we want them to be? And then from there, maybe now we can move into, in whatever spaces, now what can you do as a leader in that particular space?
Can I add something?
Yes, please go ahead.
I have 2 teenagers, adult, young adult, and one is 20 and my other son is 17. And I am a modern parent, but I have traditional traits. So my children know when I'm mom, the friend, and when I'm mom, they're mom, meaning I'll never disown them, they're my children, and when I'm mom, the boss. And I believe that as parents also, and this is to both genders, we need to know which hat to wear. Children are seeking. I work with young adults, 14, 15, because of the nature of work that I do as a coach. And at times I listen to them and I'm like, you have parents, why can't they listen to children when they speak?
Yeah.
And I believe that when we are talking about empowering or building or the youth in your house, please seek help. There's so many people out here who are happy to have conversations like Lillian has just said.
Yeah.
And through that, we will unearth where the gaps are and see what can be done. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. So I guess that just brings me to take leadership, but because of the stereotypes that are surrounding women in leadership, like the one that we mentioned of if she got a promotion, it just means she slept her way up. It like no one would just think she really deserved this, she really deserved to get this promotion or wherever. So just to go back to you, Decima, because I know you work as HR, what systems do we have, for example, now for you in the workplace that are actually supporting or just providing opportunities for women to grow and to actually be inducted into places and spaces of leadership?
As I'd mentioned earlier, I just don't recruit because you're female. I recruit you because you meet the criteria, you have interviewed, and you deserve
to be there.
So by the time you're stepping in, you're not stepping in as a lesser employee.
No.
You actually deserve it, number one. Number two, within the corporate, the currency is relationship and performance. So you should be able to build relationships within the internal network so that people can actually see who you are and the value add that you bring. The second part is performance. So if you come in and you have KPIs and you're meeting your targets, then it's not about me favoring you. Your work actually speaks for itself. Number three, I've been lucky to work with multinationals. So we do have specific programs that focus on building a robust succession plan that purely looks at women. Because we've also realized that you have very good females in their respective areas of expertise, but they never raise up their hands. simply because maybe I'm newly married, I'm not looking to relocate, I'm not sure whether I could actually do the role. But when we encourage, when we push, when we have conversations, when we mentor within the organization, then you open possibilities.
Sure.
So if you've worked with me, then people within my circle
Yeah.
know. I will ask you, why aren't you going for this position? Apply, interview. If you
Yeah.
don't get the job, there's a lesson to be learned. So we keep on pushing.
Yeah.
But other than that also, I think as women also we tend to judge. I'm here speaking today. My name is Decima Ogutu. Don't shy away. Go into LinkedIn. Connect.
Yeah.
If you need support, ask me. If I have time, I will show up. If you need me to come and speak in a forum, call me. If I have time, I'll show up. But a number of times we tend to think, oh, they're up there, we are here. She will not honor my invite. I
I'm
believe
not
that there are
saying
many,
no.
many decimas in this industry.
Yeah.
And I'm also a connector, so I'll be able to connect.
What about you, Edith, in the political space? Do we have any support systems that are empowering women?
Our country has made progress. If you watch news every day, long time ago, a woman would not dare challenge a man in political space.
Sure.
Nowadays, women are insulting men and you can't do anything about it. I don't think it's a good thing. But men are very woke. They know the moment you engage a woman, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So if you see these women who are outspoken in the political world,
Yeah.
men avoid even addressing them. When they challenge them, when they insult them, when they say unkind things to them, because so many people have landed themselves in trouble. Our former governor here slapped a woman and things were bad on him.
Yeah.
So I think we've made progress as a society on protecting women in politics. But
Yeah.
still, I feel women need to watch their back. Because a lot happens behind the scene that FIDA cannot identify. If, for example, you walk in the dark and you're raped, can you be able to prove that this person raped me?
Yeah,
So
it's hard.
the law protects you to a certain limit. You need to watch your back as a woman. The support system that comes for women is family. I can tell you for sure, family and friends. In politics, you need that. Even if you have a friend or two, they come in handy. Sometimes you want to look so strong out there, but you just can't wait to get somewhere and vent it out to someone. So a politician needs friends and family as well. So depends with the background where you're coming from. Family means blood and blood relations.
Yeah.
A family can be anything.
Can be anyone, yeah.
But Kenya has made significant improvement when it comes to women empowerment and protection when they are pursuing their interest. I saw an advert by FIDA just like a month ago or two. They were calling out for elections observers, I think, to check out on how women are going to be treated during, I stand to be corrected, but it was about how women will be handled during the election period.
Yeah.
I don't know whether those people came out, but maybe they're observing us as we're doing our campaigns. But I think it's a good thing altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, that someone somewhere is thinking of how, of I need to watch how these women are going to be handled, to
And
be
treated,
treated, because
yeah.
they're delicate.
Yeah.
Either way, yeah.
That's important.
Thank you.
So I think for me, as a young founder, in my space, it's tricky, honestly, because non-profit, you have to make friends. And as you said, competency and knowing how to deal with people. You have to make your own circle that you know. If things don't work out, I can always go back to a certain circle. They will listen to me, they will encourage me, and they will give me a way out.
Yeah.
You know, those genuine friends. Because NGO, it's survival for the fittest, if I may say, and I stand to be corrected. But that's it on the ground. But then if you go in with a win-win situation because you love doing it because of the community, then you're able to make circles that are very beneficial for you, and they become a support system for you. But then again, as a family person, family, it's always, I think for most of us, default for most of us.
Yeah,
There
for
are
most of
people who really can't say that, but for most of us, Yes, it is. But then I always think it's always good to have accountability partners, you know, where they can always be part of your journey, to be with you in the good times, to be with you in your lows.
Yeah.
Because then that gives you confidence to even walk in that journey. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, but at the end of the day also, as a person, you also need to be very kind to yourself as a person.
Yeah.
You need to be kind, and you need to recognize that you are not a superhuman. You can make mistakes. Mistakes are good because you learn, and you can always bounce back. So yeah,
That's very nice. So do we all have women or fellow women or support systems that we can always fall back to? Do we? We can actually decide to be that support system right now for each other, because I think that's it's very important that women support each other, because we are always termed as our own worst enemies, you know, where if you have a fellow woman and she rises even above you, or even in the workplace, there's a lot of competition even amongst fellow women, where women are ready to bring each other down just so that they can uplift themselves. So having that system, or just knowing that there's someone who's always going to be there to fix your crown, like they say, or to just hold your hand and be that landing sponge that you need, is actually very, very important.
just one more. I'm just thinking, there is a young girl, let's say in my village is Kalini,
Yeah.
location, sublocation, and I'm just thinking, if the parent is thinking like the past generation, that if this happens to you, it's, you know, it's your fault. Let's say, for example, a girl is raped, and the mom is like, you know, what did you wear when you are going to the market? It's your fault, and all that. In my mind, in my heart, I'm just feeling it's very critical for county governments to understand that there are people who don't have that level of understanding of getting to know how to navigate through life, and they should reach out to the chiefs and all that, and those can be actually the support system for this kind of ladies in our villages, because honestly, it's really bad. When you go back home, you listen to some stories and you're like, I wish there was someone who was there for her, because things would have been different. Yeah, so that's a challenge just out there. As a leader in your community, just know you're supposed to be just not a support system to your family only, but there are people who really, really, really need you as a support system for them.
Okay. So far, I think we're actually making some good progress in this conversation. So once again, thanks, guys. Remember, you can engage with us, send whatever questions that you may have and any contributions, and we'll do our best to engage with you as well. So now let's just go back to those myths and misconceptions, rather, that have been placed around women. And I think there was this one time I was watching a video where people were told to draw, children were told to draw a leader. Like, you know, those mtoto tu ameambiwa draw a leader, and they drew, like, yes, you wouldn't have, you know, you can't tell if it's a man or a woman, but they just, the ideal leader in their mind was a man, and, you know, based on now how they've been socialized, you know, with their fathers and everything, how they've seen leaders. Most of the leaders that we have been exposed to are men. But right now, it's good that we are seeing that women are taking up leadership. But now some of the things that are actually slowing us down are these misconceptions. So back to you, Edith. You had mentioned something about us now, now as an aspirant, and how still this is a position that has been placed by government, that we need to have a women rep. But still someone will come and say, but why are you not this? Why are you not that? Yes, you're a woman, but there are still places where you're lacking, and yet they actually need you to be there. So how do you deal with some of these things?
How I deal with?
Like, for example, you mentioned something about how someone would ask you, why are you not married? You know, you're a single mother, and somehow this is somehow going to affect the quality of leadership. So how do you navigate around such stereotypes?
First of all, let me say that when you're getting into something, you you think about the challenges ahead.
Yeah.
Even when I was planning to vie, I knew these things would come up.
Yeah.
Like in politics, the first thing people look at is that, are you married?
Mm-hmm.
Are you educated? Where do you come from? Do you come from a rich background? Who is your father? Who is your mom? So these things, you cannot avoid them. On the issue of women in politics, there's this misconception that it's a coincidence that majority are not married.
Oh, really?
But I think it's just a reflection of other women around in our society.
Yeah.
Someone decides not to get married. Another one, maybe they were in marriage but it didn't work out. I don't think it's a good thing to say only women in politics who can't manage to take care of their families. It's a societal challenge. In our organizations, there are women who are married, there are those who are unable to get married, there are those who lost their husbands to maybe death or something, sickness. So it's a misconception. It's one of the biggest misconceptions that we cannot take care of our families. And how you deal with it, we are lucky that the society is getting woke. People are getting to know that you don't have to kill yourself in a marriage to prove a point.
Yes.
But we need to also work hard as leaders and try to have functional families. I'm not here to encourage women to abandon their families in the name of empowerment. But if it's not working, if you're not lucky enough, proceed. You're not defined by your marriage, by your background, by your parents or anything. Another big misconception that we deal with every day as women is funding. How you going to get your funding? I'm a young person. So everyone thinks now that you're in politics, someone is oiling your machines.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give an example. There's a time my billboard was removed back in Meru.
Oh.
When I got into politics, I looked for friends. They funded my billboard. So one of the leaders there put it down. So the women, instead of fighting for me, they asked me, and how did you make that money? How did you raise that money to have a billboard? In a month, you pay 200,000 to have a billboard, just for a month. So someone will forget your plight as a woman and start asking you, and how are you raising this money? So there are so many misconceptions in politics, especially a woman, if she's able to move around, to fuel a car, campaign. You're seen with men sometimes, men with questionable integrity. People are like, are you managing those men? How are you sure you're not one of their women? You know? So you have to deal with a lot of misconceptions. Another misconception that is very common is when you're a young person. People will tell you need to go and build your career. So someone will ask you, so if you don't manage to win these elections, what's your fallback? It's a good question.
Yeah.
But now, as young people, if you don't do this, if you don't take the risk, are we not going to the same drawing board that you're not being represented? So it's a risk in its own. We have to deal with people questioning our future.
Yeah.
No one is offering, maybe some people will offer me, God forbid, if I lose. I hope someone will tell me, my daughter, come here and start afresh. Don't ask me sometimes when you don't know the next plan,
Step,
if I don't manage. But instead of asking someone, what's your fallback plan? Can you be that fallback plan? Can you encourage me maybe to start a business if my political venture doesn't work out? Yes, so it's not every time that you have it figured out, but we need a kinder society just in case things don't work out.
That's
Yes.
good. Muli, do you have like any I don't know, I keep saying misconceptions, I'm sorry. Misconceptions that that surround, for example, humanitarian work. I know sometimes also even working in an NGO, people would expect that the person leading the NGO, someone, oh, you're the founder, so who came up with this? Like people will always just fall back to that no, she's not an ideal leader. So what are some of the misconceptions that come with your line of work, and how are you able to handle that?
I think it's just what you just said.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the founder. Oh, that kagal. Yeah. Because if you're young and a woman, it's that kagal, aka kasichana, aka karembo. I'm like, okay, excuse me. I know what I'm doing. I am competent in what I'm doing. So can we switch that to something else? Yeah? Because I deserve this. Because, I've proven myself that I can do it. So that's one. And how to go about it is just to know your place, believe in yourself, just stand for that. You don't have to get distracted because people are calling you Kagal. The people never change. Even when you tell them, don't call me Kagal, they'll still call you Kagal, right? So you don't have to fight with them. So you just know your place, be confident with what you're doing, and do your thing. And probably the other thing is we're having a leadership training now, just to give an example. And probably a training 45 and above, or 40 and above. You are 26. They look at you, they're like, okay.
Is a
But then-
26-year-old trainee, yeah.
Exactly. But then the way to just bring them on board and make them feel they are right, they are in the right place with the right person, is to make sure that you give them the best. Hit it well. When they're working out, they'll be like, she's young but good.
This Kagal is
She's
actually
young
good.
but good.
Yeah.
She's good in what she's doing.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not that much, but it's about being out there, believing in yourself, and just doing it, because different people will tell you different things.
Yeah.
But of course, sometimes also when you go for opportunities for funding, or you're talking to a friend to fund you, there are those who will, because you're a young, beautiful lady, they'll be like, can we go out first? I mean, if it was a young man, would you still tell them that?
That's a good question.
Yeah? So just integrity. Be integral with yourself.
Yeah.
And when you get to those situations, learn to say no. I'm here for this. If it's not possible with you, thank you. I'll go and find another alternative. And with that, I think someone can keep on going. And with time, people understand you. They understand your values, and they respect you for who you are. And now things will go just smoothly.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I love that when you talked about values, because sometimes it can be easy for us to get wrapped up in all the stereotypes and everything, that we actually compromise on our values and choose to just go, according to the narrative, according to what society thinks women do, just so that they can get there. So just remembering who we are and rooting ourselves in our values is actually really important if you're to become competent women leaders. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add on to that?
Yes, I think there are many myths, and the one that stands out is you need to be 40 to become a director. As in, people think that you need to have worked for quite a number of years to be a manager or lead people. That is a myth.
Yeah.
I want to encourage the youth. You can become a leader at any age. What makes you a good leader is the foundation of character that you uphold.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I still insist, don't just step up. You must step up with a view that you know what you're talking about. So you're not just standing there to sweet talk people and to, I call it be a magician. If you know your content, you know what it is that you need done, and how it should be done. Lillian is an example here. Go for it. Number three, the myth of, I think the world has changed, and we now see different styles. So there's a myth that if you have, I think long time ago, if you have dreadlocks, you'd not be hired. Look at the offices now.
Yeah.
I think everyone dons either, I don't know, the sister locks for women, and men wear locks.
Yeah.
And organizations have accepted that.
Yeah.
If you dye your hair blonde, I've forgotten her name, the lady who, Ministry of Health? I can't remember her name, but she's gone blonde, platinum white. And everyone, I think it was a discussion on social media yesterday. The CS, yeah. And it's a discussion now, but a good discussion. Long time ago, you'd walk into an interview and you'd be a no go zone from the word go.
From a minute
So what I'm
walk in.
trying to say is we just need to be true to ourselves.
Yeah.
I believe that if you have what it takes, age is just but a number. Number one. Number two, be confident. Number three, I believe that the foundation of leadership is character. So if you walk the talk,
Yeah.
then people will believe in you and they'll definitely bet on you.
Wow,
Yeah.
thank you. So even as we wrap up, I think it's important that we also now fall back to the current conversation that we are having of elections and how, of course, how we are championing for peaceful elections, fair elections, and all that. So let's just start by talking about, so how are the women in our circles, how are they feeling about these upcoming elections? Are they neutral? Are we having, do we still have women who are saying, nah, I don't think I'm ready to vote this time? Like how is the lay of the land in terms of, yeah. Go ahead.
This is a very interesting topic in the women at work. If you go to the villages and town centers,
Yeah.
and the best people to run your campaigns right now, I'm just speaking on my, for instance, in my case,
Yeah.
the best people that you can trust in your campaigns are women. Because if a woman likes you, she likes you for good. And if she doesn't, she won't show up. So women are so woke. They are getting into the space. They know that they need a leader who is a woman, because just like you're going to the market to sing with them, to buy some items, even when you get empowered, they know that you'll bring back some of the resources to them.
Yeah.
And a woman right now knows once there's a woman on top there, it's easy for her to remember, because she's a mother maybe. Just like her kids need a good education system, good networks for employment and jobs.
Yeah.
They know it's easy for another woman to help them, as opposed to a few years ago. Felt like this woman is going to be competitive when she gets on top there.
Yeah.
The society is changing, and I can tell you for sure, women know that it takes another woman to help them. So in the political space, well, still we have a long way to go,
Yeah.
whereby we still have women who feel like, I don't want to see this woman on top. But many women, especially our mothers, our age mates,
Yeah.
they know that the moment you get on top, since you're a mom, you know the challenges that she goes through because you've gone through the same.
As well.
You're likely to help them, as opposed to if another man. Well, it's hard to speak on my position, because this is a woman position. But even for other positions where women are competing with men, women are trusting that if I get to elect a woman into this position,
Yeah.
she'll easily identify with my problems, as opposed to a man in the same position. And even well, it's still a challenge, because there are very few women who have come up to go for the MP positions, gubernatorial positions, the accountable women. But for those who are coming up, like in my case in our county, you see women, most of the time she's rallying women behind her. Why? Because she knows if she needs a genuine crowd, a genuine support system, these women are going to offer it. In as much as maybe you might find her looking for men, she knows deep in them tomorrow they'll be hired by another person. But once women support you, you are good to go. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
What about the rest of you? What are the women in our spaces talking about or feeling about our upcoming elections?
In my space, I think it's not very colorful, like in your space, because let's say the teenagers and young adults,
Yeah.
they are more like, do I really have to vote? Because I can't see much that happens even after voting. Then what?
No difference.
That's the question they're having. And we've been having different conversations with young people and trying to convince them and trying to tell them that voting, it's you voicing out your right as a citizen and what you want for your country and even your personal life, because politics and personal life, it's almost in the same line, right? But in my space, honestly, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done, because someone will tell you, I'd rather go out with my friends. I'd rather stay in and watch than go and vote.
Yeah.
They would have so many, I'd rather, right? So I think for us, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to that group age and getting them to understand the importance of voting. But for the rest of us now, adults and above, I think we all now understand that we really need women in leadership.
Yeah.
So if I'm speaking from my age group point of view, we are so ready. We are so ready because we are trying to see, she's doing it. All right, what can we do for you? How can we support you? What do you need, you know? And we're like, okay, I'm going to maybe find other friends and my friends, and we're going to back you up, things like that. So for us, it's important. The question remains, what happens now with the votes that you're going to lose from this other group age? And then that's where I'm going to challenge aspirants like you. Just have conversation with these young people. Let them understand why they need to vote for you. Because if they hear it from you, then it will be easier even for me to go back and tell them, you see, now we have a reason to vote. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, now we can do it. Yeah.
I'm laughing because we had that conversation before we started, and I'm not going to speak for many people. I want to speak from my own personal point of view. I agree. There's a lot to be done, a lot. And for me, leadership is about when you step up and you accept to be a leader, then we must also start looking at, do they take ownership? Do they take accountability? And do they keep their promises? And this is regardless of gender.
Yeah.
I guess the reason as to why the youth, and describing the youth here, I'm saying 35 and below, are still not sure whether they want to vote, who they want to vote for, is because the landscape has changed. We no longer go to rallies to be given 100 shillings in order to vote. People are looking for leaders who have their best interest at heart.
Yeah.
I've been blessed to travel to other countries. We see the road networks that are amazing, hospitals that are functioning,
Yeah.
education systems, schools that are affordable. So there's still basics that we need to put in place. And these changes will not happen if we continue recycling, and I'm using the word deliberately, recycling leaders who have no track record of success. One, the money that is allocated to counties with the devolution comes from taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
I need the youth to understand that it is time for them to rise up and demand better. And where we can step up is to try and show them what is better. Who are these leaders, or what are some of these things that you should look out for when you're electing a leader? I think the stereotyping of nitafanya, nitajenga, nitaleta, someone needs to be held accountable. And that is where we fail also. The youth are the majority. I guess if they want to run the country, they can do that squarely.
They can definitely do it. Thank you for saying that. So even as we wrap up finally, maybe just a few parting shots. And so here at AYLF, we have been keen on the message of stewardship. You know, how can we be good stewards in our various places of leadership? So maybe we can start with you, Lillian, even as we close. So how are you being a good steward, even as a woman in leadership? How are you being a good steward? How are you spreading the message of, you know, how we've talked about that leadership, the foundation is good character and good values. So yeah, just parting shot.
I think for me as a humanitarian, it's more of being in so many spaces where I'm nurturing young people. And for me, that's me being able to be the change that I want to see in the society. Because I believe when I change 10, they will change 100, right?
Yeah.
In future. So what I would tell maybe someone who is listening to this, or someone who would probably want to do something different in their space, is can you intentionally, and I repeat, intentionally, choose what you want to achieve in your space and do the work, and do it with a lot of honesty in your heart, knowing that it goes beyond materialistic gain to actually seeing transformation and change, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. But for any other young woman who's going for leadership, like our friend here, please, we are fighting for this. Don't fail us. We are really fighting for this. When you get there, do your work. Understand that we are ready to support you. Come, talk to us. We are going to support you. We are going to journey with you. We need to see results so that even when a young girl in future who will want to vie for presidency, it's easier for them.
Yeah.
As you had mentioned before. So it's personal responsibility. That's what I would say in everything that you do.
Thank you. Dasima?
I don't want to repeat myself, but I think in order for you to be a steward or to be a role model or demonstrate what leadership looks like, it starts with you. So when you stand up and tell people, I'm a leader, what does that mean? Again, I repeat, for me, as Decima, the foundation of leadership stems from character. We need to relook at our characters as individuals and also as a society, number one. Number two, what can I do in my small space? I guess for me is to avail myself to support whenever I'm called upon.
To support,
Number one. Number two, not to withhold information. I'm not competing with anyone. Whatever it is that I've learned, I've also been supported by other amazing women. I'm still supported by amazing women. So how is that circle, your circle of friends, looking like? I tell people that I have friends who are much older than me, people who are in their 70s, 60s. I have my peers, and I have friends who are younger than me. My youngest best friend is 16. I think she's 16 now.
Wow.
And I can fit in even with class 8, that is 14. So we need to be able to adapt as people who want to make a change in this society. And to my aspirant here, when you get to the top, please don't forget the people on the ground. Because I tend to think that it is all about clout at times. And you forget that the same people you're ignoring today are the same people who voted for you and got you there. So change starts with me, and let's make the difference in our own small circles.
Thank you.
So for me, I always remind myself that politics is not a matter of life and death. You have to remember that, because if you don't, you're going to make very many mistakes. Two things. Number one, when I say it's not a matter of life and death, there are things I will not push myself into doing because I need this nomination certificate. Every day I ask myself, did you campaign well? Did you do your best? Did you put all your energy, all the little resources that you have into your campaigns today? Yes. Did you relate well with your party leaders or the people, your competitors? Yes. So rest. If this is meant for you, it's going to find you. I don't need to start now begging people at night, calling people, please consider me for this. You know, I'm good enough. You know, this person is bad. I don't need to throw vitriol to my opponents to get their favors. I need to remind myself, if this is meant for me and I do my best, I will get it. That keeps me sane and not desperate. Secondly, I really treat my opponents with respect. I remind myself these are women. They badly want this like I want the position. They also they feel they deserve it as well. So anytime I come across them, I'm actually, I can really say that I'm actually the first person who greets them, says a kind words to them, because I know at times it's hard. You feel like if you're selfish, you'll feel like this person is a stumbling block to my success. So I remind myself, this is not a matter of life and death. I need to treat other women with respect. I need to treat my party leaders and other people with respect and have boundaries, because in the long run, there's a life after politics, whether you win or not. That guides my morals and values in politics.
Thank you. And I think that actually applies to all sectors of leadership. So thank you. This has been a very insightful and a very knowledgeable conversation. Thank you so much, guys, for accepting our invitation to be here with us today. remember that this is an ongoing conversation. That means that even after we leave this place, we still expect you to continue having these conversations in your small groups, in your places of work, wherever it is you are. Remember that you can always empower your fellow women, or if you're a man, remember that even men actually have a role to play in supporting women in leadership. So thank you once again, guys. Remember that these live streams happen every month, and we'll be tackling various topics of conversation. So always make sure that you're here with us, because ukikosa utachekwa. Yeah, so another thing is we cannot forget to also appreciate Harry Heights Service Apartments in Arboretum for always helping us to host these live streams. And of course, to the man behind the camera, or the men behind the camera, we can also not forget to appreciate them. That's Anto Annex Production. Thank you so much for always facilitating the live streams and all other audiovisual production services. And of course, to AYLF for making this possible. Thank you so much once again. We hope to meet you next month for yet another conversation. But until then, my name has been Sharon Chibai. Do enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Goodbye.